Hey everybody, JSquared John Jeremy here, and I thought we'd start off our second vlog here, first off with a thank you. And the reason I say thank you is because of the continued support that you guys have given toward the channel. All of our metrics show improvement week over week, and obviously definitely seen some nice growth since the quiet months of the past few. Now, when we started producing videos again for the channel, my thought process was that I really wanted to make a commitment that this year would be a year where we really maintain and grow it. And you heard me talk a little bit about that during last week's vlog, where that was one of my resolutions for this year, that we consistently produce at least one video every day for 2019. And so far we're on the mark. We've got videos ready to go out all the way through into February now. So that's fantastic. I absolutely love that. And we also have our first new channel members, so thank you very much for supporting the channel even further. I greatly appreciate it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the channel and what I've been up to more recently in the past week. So this is kind of going to be a weekly series where I just kind of go through my thoughts that are going on in my head. And I know the first episode was kind of like almost a tutorial, not a tutorial, a pilot, where we kind of just chatted on a little bit, and I liked the way that worked, that sort of stream of consciousness thinking, so I thought I'd continue it here. So there is no script. This is entirely just me, unfiltered. Hopefully it all goes well, and instead of the backdrop being just my channel logo, I thought I'd showcase some gameplay here, so you've got that going on behind me as well. Now, it's nothing serious. I don't know if I'm going to be making it into a series or anything of that sort, but just something to keep attention, I guess, instead of a static background while we're doing this. We have some, well, at least for me personally, I've got some kind of things I want to talk about here. First off, a little bit about me. Obviously, as many of you know, and I've talked about this prior on the channel, but for those that are just joining in, you can obviously see that there is something wrong with my eye. I have what's called Coates disease, or Coates syndrome, and that basically is a rare genetic disease that eventually just I lost sight, I lost vision in that one particular eye, and eventually I had it removed. So that's why you see that eye a little bit differently than you would my right in this case. Many people don't notice it until I actually bring it up, and I appreciate that. At least I know that at that point then the ocularist, the person who actually makes the prosthetic, is doing their job correctly at that point then, because the entire idea behind a prosthetic is that it isn't noticed. So for those that were wondering, and I know that sometimes that question does come up, I might as well just get it out of the way here now and talk about that. So yeah, I had that. When did I get that? I was diagnosed with it back when I was just 10, 11. And I have a funny story about it, actually. So, and this is true. This is absolutely 100% true. I cannot make this up. So in 7th grade is when it happened. I remember it very distinctly. 7th grade is when it happened. I'm in my social studies class. It's one of my favorite classes. I loved, and I continue to love history. And it turns out on that particular day, we were watching a video. And as many of you know, and probably as you have over the years, if you are a student, or if you have gone through this as a student, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was video day. And video day basically consists of just the teacher for that period, for that section of time, just kind of sitting at their desk while every student watches a video. And back when I was in school, when I was in grade 7, it was the old school, like, put in a VCR tape into the VHS and then let that play on the CRT TV. Yeah, see, CRT. All these newfangled OLED and LED and QLED sort of TVs. We didn't have that when I was in school. That's dating myself right now, but we had these old school CRT TVs, and yeah, it was a female teacher. She put it into the tape. She put it into the VHS, put the tape in, and it would play. Today's video, or at least that day's video, was on King Tut. And as many of you may know, there is a supposed curse of King Tut. So I'm literally in the classroom. I'm watching the video, and at this point, prior to, I had noticed that there was something funny going on with my vision. There was almost like a black hole, a dot of some sort, that was obscuring some of my vision in my left eye. I didn't really understand what it was, and I didn't really talk about it to anybody. I just assumed it would naturally go away, and unfortunately it didn't. So I'm in the room, I'm watching this thing on King Tut, and I blink. Literally, it's just a blink, and then my vision just cuts off in that eye. And I'm blinking again a couple more times. I'm rubbing it, thinking, what's up. And I don't really think at that time I understood the seriousness of what was going on. Truthfully, I don't think I did. So it doesn't come back. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, this is a thing. So what do you do when there's something wrong with you and you're in school? You go see the nurse. So I get up, I walk over to my teacher, and I whisper to her, because the TV is still on and the kids are still watching. I was like, I think I need to go to the nurse. I can't see out of an eye. And she goes wide-eyed for a second, and then she's like, yeah, I think you need to go. So I go to the nurse, and bless. Obviously, the nurse is not going to be equipped to deal with that sort of scenario. So my parents are called. We go out. We go see a general physician. The general physician says, okay, you need to go see a specialist. So we go see the specialist. And at that point, then I was diagnosed with Coates disease. And, there were several attempts that we made to recover the vision in that eye. We had tried a gas bubble. We had tried cryotherapy. We had tried a laser. And basically, what Coates disease is that there's abnormal blood vessels in my eye. And they burst. And because they burst, they would detach the retina from the rest of the eye. And the retina is what allows you to see. It allows you to see light and have that be, I guess, the image transferred to the brain. So retina was attached. They couldn't reattach it. Tried 3 times, couldn't do it. And eventually, what would happen is that with any other muscle that you're no longer using, it atrophies. So the eye was slowly getting smaller and smaller, and eventually it would start to become painful. So that's when I decided to have it removed. I've never really talked about this before with anyone. I've kind of given this story to a few individuals here and there, but I've never really talked about it to the channel. So I thought that I'd start this kind of vlog here, just talking to you a bit about myself, kind of pulling back the curtain, so to speak. I mean, I'm absolutely fine now, and it definitely could have been worse. Coates disease can theoretically affect both eyes. And I do have to go yearly to see a specialist to make sure that there is nothing wrong with my other eye. But so far, so good. And it's been some time since that happened. And it's funny. When it first happened, I didn't know how to react, how to deal with it personally. To this day, I guess I still follow the same sort of traits. I was out of school, I remember, for several months because they would just keep on trying to perform different surgeries to get the vision back. And because the surgeries required specific post-surgery supports, like, for example, I remember a time where I spent, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, face down, as in like this the entire time for 2 or 3 weeks, just trying to, I guess they were trying to set the retina back in place with the use of, I think this was the gas bubble. I think that was what I was doing that one for. But, you know, literally, it was just head down for 2 or 3 weeks. Literally, the whole, I couldn't sleep any other position but face down. To this day, that's usually how I sleep. Just head this way or head this way. So I wanted to share that with you because, you know, that's one of the things that made me who I am. That's one of the focal points of my life that really determined, you know, my personal outlook on it. And, you know, it definitely helped to shape the individual I became, you know, years later. So just a little peek behind the curtain as far as that goes from me to you. I guess we could continue to talk about, you know, stuff like that, you know, personal things about me in the future during these vlogs as well. But I figured I'd start off with that because that's probably the most obvious of the things that go on about me, because you don't normally see me day to day. You know, I'm usually the voice behind the video, not necessarily the person who's in front of you right now. So there's that. Yes, so another thing I wanted to talk about during today's vlog is resolutions. So, and I start off with that, and I start off talking about that with a caveat. So, I personally really have never been able to finish a resolution, like a New Year's resolution sort of thing. And obviously, we're in the second week of the new year, and there are pretty much plenty of resolutions that have been broken previously by many people in just this week alone. There was something that changed for me, though, a little bit, and I wanted to talk about that as well. Over the New Year's weekend, I saw a video, and I'm not, you know, the guy who listens to motivational speeches. Or speakers for that matter. I don't like them. I don't like many of the people, you know, behind them. Nothing against them personally. It's just I feel like the idea of a motivational speaker in many ways is just simply a way for people to take advantage of others, in that you want to, you know, you're trying to sell a book, you're trying to sell, you know, something. And, you know, I respect the fact that perhaps these people do believe in what they're saying. It doesn't respond well to me, though, and that's why I've kind of shied away from all that. On the flip side, over the weekend I did see a video, and it was a motivational video, but it was from an individual who isn't a motivational speaker, at least not naturally, not normally. That's not their job. And the video was from, funny enough, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you think to yourself, well, why? Truthfully, YouTube just brought it up for me. And, you know, it was like one of those side video things, like related videos or like suggested videos. And I was like, I click on that, just see what it is, see what's up. Oh no, it wasn't a suggested video, but it was like one of the front page videos. It was like trending video, I think it was. I was like, that seems interesting. Click. And it was a motivational, you know, video from, you know, and it's using Arnold Schwarzenegger's, you know, words, and he didn't make it himself, but some sort of compilation channel did, and I don't know, it just clicked with me, and you know, I'm gonna really destroy what it was talking about, so I'll probably just link the video in my description, which you can click the show more button, and it'll tell you more about it. But the gist of it was making the most out of your day. You only have 24 hours in a day, so you have to make the most of them. And it sounds logical, right? But how many of us truly do that? And it really got me thinking, you know, what do I do in a 24-hour day? No, and I do, you know, things. I sleep, I work, I eat, I, you know, game, and I record, and I, you know, post the videos. And you would think that, you know, I'm making the most out of my day. But as I was reviewing my schedule, I really wasn't. Truthfully, I really wasn't. So what I've done, you know, over the past almost 2 weeks now. So since December the 31st, I did it one day before New Year's Day, so I wouldn't call it a New Year's resolution, although it pretty much is. Since December 31st, I've been scheduling my day out to the minute. To the minute. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, I wake up. By 5:15, I'm in the gym exercising. By 6 o'clock, I've got my coffee brewing in the pot, and I'm taking a shower. By 7 o'clock, we've got our premiere on YouTube that I'm, in the chat room chatting with you all. Probably by 8 o'clock, I'm back in the gym, for another round. And then, depending on when I need to go to work, it's either in the morning, late morning, or early afternoon, depending on that, and then how long I have to spend that day, usually 8 to 9 hours, maybe sometimes more. Then the post-work stuff comes in where, if I've got time, am I recording more videos? Do I have enough time for another workout? Do I have time to do anything, basically, before I go back to bed? And I go to bed nowadays at 10:30, 11 o'clock. So it's about 6 hours of sleep, 18 hours of useful time. And even if you consider the 9 hours, let's just call it 9 hours of work, what am I doing with the other 9 hours? That's the gist of the video. And I don't know why. But it really spoke to me. And I've told my coworkers this, and they all think I'm crazy. They all think that there's no way that they could wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. But I'm doing it, I'm doing it, and I feel good. I truly do. I feel good. I feel better than I have in quite some time, actually. And it's working for me. Whether it's the productivity of what I'm doing on YouTube, the fact that I've got these videos scheduled out until February, that's because of the new schedule that I'm working on. The fact that I'm getting in workouts for the first time in God knows how long, that's because of the new schedule that I'm working on. So I wanted to just kind of talk about that for a minute and just, ask you all, are you truly making the most out of your day? You've got 24 hours in the day. Are you making the most of them? Let me know in the comments below. One last plug before we end out the vlog today is, like I said, we do have channel memberships here. We do have channel members, and I appreciate their support. If you'd like to become a channel member, go ahead and click the join button on the video here, and it's a $5 subscription, basically, to the channel. I receive 70% of that $5, and then basically that's put back toward the channel as far as the revenue for that goes. And what you get out of it is going to be an exclusive badge that is visible during live chats, in premieres, and then hopefully soon to come, I know YouTube is working on it, in the comment sections of videos themselves. You'll also have access to exclusive emotes for the live chats as well. You'll also have access to members-only posts on the community boards, and option, if you want to, when you join the Discord, let me know, and you'll be added to the supporters section of the Discord as well, so a special member rank for you there. So you get all those things when you become a member of the channel. And of course, my thanks, obviously. If you like these vlogs, let me know. Give the video a like, and then, in your comments, along with, the answer to the question about if you're making the most out of your day, what else do you want me to talk about in these vlogs? These are pretty open. I don't like hiding things. I'm not a secret keeper. I'm not a very good secret keeper anyway. But I want these to definitely be more of a personal, behind-the-scenes look at what we're doing here. So let me know in the comments below. Until next time, this is JSquared John Jeremy signing off, saying so long and take care.